with JMT group, that probably wasn't done correctly. So I got us out of that, and we're not on the hook for a very large sum of money to do a blower study. I don't think we need a blower study. I think we're in a position where we can deal with what we've got. And speaking with the consultant, the attorney, and then with JMT, we were able to navigate that. So I have good news on that front as well. Under the B section, 20 loads of sludge have been hauled from the plant from your authorization at the last meeting. I may be coming back at the next meeting to ask for authorization for up to 10 more loads, but I'm gonna hold off on that as a confirmed, but we'll see where we stand as of next week when I publish the agenda.
So is this a big dent in what needed to be?
I don't know that I call it a big dent, but I can tell you that I think we're on the right side of going in a good direction. And the consultants here can speak to that. I don't want to falsely think we're on the flip side of this and we're going in a good direction, but we are going in a good direction. I'm just not ready to claim success yet, if that makes sense. So we were required to put our corrective action plan together. That was done by JMT, sent to the mayor for signature. We were able to submit that the day before it was due, which is probably showing the state that we're serious about this and we're not ignoring them. So I'm excited about that. And the last thing on that list is the wastewater plant has a limited number of staff, and we're working through that. The consultants worked with me as well. I want to broach the subject of adding an additional position out there. I just don't know what that's going to look like yet. We're meeting tomorrow at 2 o'clock to kind of talk about job descriptions and what that looks like and what the position would be. But I want to get to a place where things make sense. And right now I'm in week 4 of being here. And you know, job descriptions are not present in a lot of places. So I'm trying to get us to a place where there's an organized thought in building out the town's work. And I say all that to say, we're gonna work together a little bit tomorrow, and I'll probably have an update for you at the meeting about what that looks like and why, and we'll try and post a position and we'll see if we can get that going. The only thing it will do for us is certainly get us ahead of the preventive maintenance and taking care of, you know, business side, and that's where we're building process with the consultant and myself to get out in front of things before they're falling down around us. And I think that's where we've had our biggest challenges in coming in from the outside and seeing this, is there's been a lot of overlooked routine maintenance on things. And this will give us the opportunity to kind of set a bar where everybody knows what that looks like, so.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes, ma'am.
Catherine told me that she was training a guy also to, in case that she would have to be out, that she's teaching him how to get the samples and stuff like that. So, and I told her, I said, that sounds great. Thank you for taking that on.
Yeah, in talking to the consultant, and one of the things that I've learned in the business I'm in is there has to be redundancy for success, because not everybody can be there all the time. So there has to be a succession plan. And that's one of the things that you may see differently with the job descriptions I'm going to create for the town, is it's not just about, you know, requirements and those types of things, but it's about being adaptive. And that's what we need, is we need to hire values and train skill, if that makes sense. So we're able to kind of teach that and move in that direction. So that's something we talked about, and I think that we got some really great people. I think that with a little bit of direction, we're going in a positive and a good direction. So, and thank you for bringing that out. I appreciate knowing about employees doing great things. So that is definitely appreciated.
They really work hard, and they're just understaffed up there all together. So. I'm one man anyway.
There was a planning commission meeting last week, and I received a notice from Tanner, I believe his name is? Connor, thank you. Sorry, there's 15 names popping through my head right now. He's requesting a resolution from the board to be able to authorize approval or the staff being approved to provide approval going from 2 lots to 5 lots for subdivision plat. And I'm working through this resolution now. I'll be calling him back to kind of talk through some of this, because some of it doesn't make sense to me and my limited knowledge of the town and how we do resolutions. So I'll be talking to him, but this will be on your agenda next Thursday. I'm sorry, the next
Let me
meeting
add
Thursday.
something to that too.
Yes, ma'am.
Teresa and I were there, and Jim were there, when they were in, and it's, he's turning it into 5 lots, and it'll be his children will be putting double wides on those 5 lots. But he said that, each one of them would have it in their names.
Right,
Each
this
lot.
isn't about one particular property. This is doing a resolution where staff will have the authority to grant approval as long as preliminary approval is required, is the way I read this. Is that correct?
Right now, he only has the approval for staff authority. It's basically saying you're letting the town planner approve these subdivisions. Whether you do 1 to 2 lots or 150, it's a subdivision. Right now, he's only allowed, as we allowed Vince to, approve a 2-lot subdivision. They changed the statutes, and that you can now, and the planning commission is recommending this resolution to the board, Mayor and Alderman, to allow the planner, the staff, to approve up to a subdivision including 5 lots. And that would be something that we have, to bring back here, but it is a statutory option you have, and it's being recommended to the board by the planning commission.
Where's this place at that they want to do?
Oh, that was a particular
That's a,
thing.
that's a different, and it would be
In other
applied
words,
to
that
this.
one was
Yeah.
not approved by the staff, that was brought before the planning commission, and the planning commission approved it, the 5.
Where's it at?
It's out next, just in front of, Road.
In front of Wilton.
Yeah, you know how you come,
We did one with them back last year, we did.
I don't remember, I'm pretty sure this one, my memory serves me, was a 5-lot division up there in front of, coming back the lane to the Riverton. On the left-hand side, as you're coming to the Riverton, he owned property in there, and he was basically dividing it up into 5 spots and giving, as the mayor said, giving a lot to each of the children. And they all had access to the roads and that type of thing.
And they
So
will
that was
have
a-
that also
But
in,
the reason he wants-
they will have he's gonna divide that up, and each one's responsible for each one of those.
The reason he wants to do it, so he don't have to bring it in front of the planning commission, he can just do it himself, that's basically what you.
It's the way to expedite the
Yes.
approval process, yes. It requires some things, and the planner also should always use the judgment whether it's something that may be a little bit out of the ordinary, that he would then bring back to the
Yes.
planning commission to approve.
To make it a little quicker.
But it stops him from waiting to the next planning commission
Yes.
meeting to get approval of things.
And he also said that each one of those would be in their children's names, and that, but it's also, if they have to sell one, they have to sell it back to him. Or turn it back over to him.
Yeah, that's going too deep into this. What I'm giving you is just the resolution discussion. We're not talking about a specific property or any of those things. And I wanna correct myself. The only way that the staff has the authority is if no preliminary approval is required. So if preliminary approval is required, then the 5 lots is not, they don't have authorization. They would have to go through the full review process. So I wanted to correct myself there. In our last discussion, you all asked me, I believe it was Alderman Gibson asked about the in-kind donation for the EMS building. Between myself and the attorney, we've kind of worked through some things and talked about it, so.
It's just that an estimation, because it's a unique piece of property, with about 1,800 square feet, half of it's in bays, half of it's in living quarters. It's also in a residential R1 zone, so it's not like without changing the zoning, you could use it for anything other than state government business. It's very difficult to figure out. What I would give you as my best estimate is based upon what the Hawkins County EMS was paying for the facility they had before their present one, was about $1,200 a month. And that seems to me to be a reasonable standpoint for if you're trying to estimate your contribution in kind, which is $14,400 a year. That's probably a good enough figure to start from. I'm not telling you that's a hard rock figure. This is, there are very few things where you've got governmental operations, and it's not really a commercial site. It's, you know, it's kind of out of the way. It's not like it's on Main Street where you'd have the ability to perhaps change it into an office or something. And again, if you did that, then you'd also have to go through and do the planning commission, change it from an R1 zone, that portion to commercial.
So while he's here, can we recognize Director Merle to speak on what they're looking for from us?
Yes.
You gotta speak on that, Jesse.
So, what I talked with Alderman Gibson about was, we're attempting to obtain the TCRS, Tennessee Consolidated Retirement System. With us being, having a franchise agreement with the county, the TCRS division asked about our funding sources. So, when we talked to them about it, they asked like if any of the cities contributed to our funding. Physically, no, you don't contribute to our funding, but in kind with letting us use that station, you technically do. So they asked if we could come to the cities that allow us to use city buildings to draft a resolution saying support EMS in obtaining the TCRS retirement, as well as this is what the building that they are using is, this is what they would pay if they had to physically rent the building. So like you were saying, it's an in-kind donation or monetary donation by letting us use the facilities.
Okay,
What would that be for?
so you're looking for a resolution to support your efforts to go to TCRS by explaining what our in-kind donation is
Yes.
with the facility. Is that
Yes.
is that what you said? Okay.
Yes.
I would ask you if you have an opinion upon my estimate. I'm not gonna take offense one way or the
No,
other.
obviously that's your building. Just from what I've seen in other places, or the going rate now, I would estimate if for a building like that, I would estimate that we would be paying somewhere between $2,500 to $3,000 a month. I would imagine easy.
Yeah.
If I was guessing.
Mhm.
Obviously, I'm no realtor or.
But we do have a realtor here.
Well, I'm not gonna put her on the spot.
But
But-
that, just to speak on that, so you're just looking for something, a resolution of support, nothing that's any type of financial commitment or
No,
obligation?
no.
Just a letter, just a resolution of support and supporting you all in obtaining that TCRS and because that, I know how impactful that would be for you all. But just, and that's how we contribute if we find kind of a number that we can agree upon
Yes.
of what that looks like.
Yes.
So I will ask you, you know, if you'd like me to go forward with that, I can probably dig a little deeper and try and get this closer to a real number. We're obviously speculating because it's zone government,
Right.
and we're not renting out government facilities necessarily. He's exactly correct, though. I was thinking more in the 18 to 3,500 range from the things that I know, being in this business and having done it elsewhere. So I would consider it to be somewhere in that range, and thank you for your
Thank you.
candor.
Thank you.
So I'll bring this up at the meeting and y'all can take action and direct me, but I'll begin some legwork now,
So
so.
last question, do you have any idea what they're paying presently down there? I've got to call in to find out, but Hawkins County EMS is paying for your Rogersville facility now.
So the facility that we're using now doesn't have any bays. Our units are sitting outside, and it's square footage wise, it's a little bit bigger, but we are paying $1,800 a month there.
What do you pay for the office space, Jason?
And then for the other building is $1,400 for the business office. The
Comparative
building,
square footage.
I want to think that building, the square footage is 800 square foot, 900 square foot.
So about 2,600 to 3,000 square foot roughly.
Yes.
Okay. Does that take care of that, or does anybody else have any questions? Y'all asked me to look into sound amplification for the boardroom. I called an engineer because, you know, we can buy stuff off the shelf, but then we end up with echo reverberation, and folks in the audience wouldn't understand that it'd be distorted. So I asked somebody for some prices. The initial price was like $11,000. I think that's a ridiculous price to do for a room this size. So I'm still looking into it. I don't have anything concrete to give you right now, but if push comes to shove, we'll get to a place where we may design our own and kind of do it by trial and error, if you will. Because the room is so small, the blessing y'all have is my voice projects, but I know not all of you do, and some folks may be hearing challenged too, so we want to get to a place where we can make it comfortable for everyone. So the one with $11,000 had recording devices as well, so I can actually record the meetings and have it in an archive, and instead of going through the phone process. The other thing is it had ADA compliance for hearing impaired folks and that kind of thing. So I say all that to say, I can go any direction y'all would like, but I don't want to hire an engineer because I think that's ridiculous and I think it's too expensive. That's just my opinion.
Okay.
Waste of money.
John, what would you say the meeting room is in Rogersville where they hold commission meetings?
Commission meetings?
Not the big one, the smaller ones.
The mayor's office, it's a little bit bigger than this room. Probably about this size, 1.5 this size room. But they also have that kind of system that they probably spent about $10,000 on, where you have an actual deck, recording deck, where they record individual microphones. So every microphone is recorded to that main deck, and then they can pull that recording. So it's a system like that, but I think there would be, and one direction this might be that we could look as well, as like a conference room style versus actual like meeting room, because some of those have just one little hub devices and then one main hub that would push the sound and bounce it off all the walls.
And that's actually what I started looking at with the engineer too, and they gave me about a $5,000 price for that. So I said, well, let me go down the road and see if I can find something comparable. I will tell you that Johnson City is going through a remodel of their commission chamber, and I've been talking to the project manager for that. There may be an opportunity there, and I'm not gonna discount that. So if I can get my hands, and those are wireless mics, I don't think we need any more than maybe 2 or 3 speakers. And what I would say is maybe 1 back there and then 2 up front here to kind of balance the sound so it doesn't echo off the walls, but it actually amplifies. There won't be any recording device though with that. So it'll still be, we'll have to figure out what we're doing recording wise, and in the future I'll certainly strive for that, but I've got too many fires burning to worry about that particular arena. We got something that's working now, so we'll continue to go down that path. If anybody has any contacts or ideas, and Alderman Gibson, you just mentioned something, if there's any other ideas that you guys come across or encounter, please share them with me and I'll explore them and see what I can do. So, general update from me. So I was successful in hiring a CMFO recording clerk. He will be starting on the 23rd. He's coming from a neighboring jurisdiction in Northeast Tennessee. He comes to us halfway through his CMFO process and fully qualified as a recording clerk. So I'm excited about that, and we're ready to rock and roll. We got some big things to bite off when he gets here. His office will be in the office with the mayor's office initially, and then I've got to figure out what we're doing. That brings up phase 2 of the building. The outside's done now. Now the inside apparently is the next phase. I don't know if there was a plan, so I am trying to find out if any of you have any idea of whether there was a plan that existed. If not, then I'm going to be going through and kind of addressing those things and talking about that for office space and projected space and all those other things. So that's basically it there. The police department is at 4 staffing now, police chief and 3 officers. One just graduated the academy today, the other relocated from another jurisdiction and will be going through transition school for Tennessee standards. But they're all 4 here now. the young lady that was hired, she doesn't go to transition school till, I think, the latter part of October. So she'll be here orienting to the town in the interim. I think we have room, capacity-wise, budget for one more officer with what we've done. So the police chief and I are talking through some of those things.
What kind of shape is their patrol cars in? I know they haven't been used in a while there.
Police chief said they're holding on, but I know that we're gonna probably need to order another one here in the near future. I believe it's already in the budget.
Yes.
So, he's working through some of those things right now.
Well, he's supposed to be getting some from the grant, he's been trying to get 2 from the grant,
Okay,
that saves us some more money.
absolutely.
Could you elaborate a little bit more on the CMFO? You said he's halfway through.
So, yes, he comes to us highly educated and qualified. He's got a Juris Doctorate degree, and he has been serving as a CMFO town recorder for a neighboring jurisdiction. I'd rather not share that right now in a public setting, because he's still working out his notice and I don't want to create chaos for him.
Right.
But I know that he's given notice, so, he said that he will be done. So the way MTAS runs their CMFO program is it's a year-long program. He's 7 classes through, and there's a class a month, basically, is how that works. So,
Okay, so he's got 5 more classes.
correct.
Okay.
So
And
that was the 23rd of September, right?
23rd of September, he'll start. So, let me see. Code enforcement and building. We've had a plethora of complaints come in, where everybody wants to be anonymous for things going on in the town and their neighbors and that kind of thing. I think that's great, but one of the challenges is when I send these folks out on these missions, it costs us money. And there is no revenue generated to pay for that. So I'm a little concerned about that as opposed to the building side. The building side has a revenue stream with permits and such. So while I appreciate and see what we're doing and we're doing good things, having the reactive nature that we are, because we're dealing with complaint calls constantly, and we're not actually out proactively patrolling as a code enforcement officer, it creates some of that problem. So I'm gonna be working on some alternatives there. I probably won't have anything for you immediately, but I just wanted you to be aware. There's some folks that are up in arms because they've been cited and visited and those types of things for, overgrown grass, unlicensed vehicles on their property, tore down like their mechanic work in the front yard. So that's what the neighbors are complaining about and things like that. So we're taking that action, but you all may get phone calls about it, and I want you to be prepared to hear that and know that our folks are doing what they're supposed to be doing. So, but it comes at a cost is the other part, and I don't know, I'm trying to get my hands on the contract that we have with them to do what they do as well.
I
So,
think before we had Vance there, and he just went up whenever somebody had a problem there, but now we pay every time we get a call now.
correct.
It was my understanding, I could be wrong, but it was my understanding that they got a certain fee from the citations that was issued.
That may be true, but I don't know what that looks like. And going out and investigating and finding nothing, we're still getting charged for their activity and there's no citation issued. And I hope that makes sense, but somebody has to go out and investigate that. And I don't have anybody else in the town that can do that, that's IPCM certified and those types of things. So when I say all that to say, I want to get to a place where this is making more sense to me. And I do have a background in code and building, so it gives me pause about how we got to this place. I'm not suggesting we bring code enforcement back in-house or anything like that, but there may be other ways that we can do that. While patrol officers are on patrol, they can see things and report them back in through so we can become proactive at doing this and plan it instead of the knee-jerk reaction of, hey, so-and-so called and they're upset about this, this, or this. So that, I'm trying to get us to a place where we're not running around chasing things and we're getting out and do it. It's no different than community policing and, you know, the fire department going out and doing a smoke detector blitz. You know, we do that in advance before the disaster, hopefully, and we save lives that way. So, did I answer your question? Okay. And with that, I think I'm done.
I want to ask Tim something. What's going on with the screw press that we talked about?
Well, we've got the sample kit in, the cinder sludge away, and our polymer to the, equipment vendor. And we're gonna have a demo here pretty soon, hopefully in a week or so. And it's all on the engineers, just takes a vote, and it'll have to be, whatever press we decide to do, or however we decide to handle their solids, belt press, screw press, all that good stuff, which, and they're looking at a screw press as well. It'll have to be designed, engineered, approved, and the funding, you know, gathered together, and then we can start that, but sooner the better.
Okay.
One of the things I'm gonna bring up is.
Yes, sir.
Is gonna be time sensitive. Is to address large item pickup fee waiver for only a year. We did do a fee waiver. John, do you remember when we enacted that fee waiver? Is it getting close to expiring?
I'd have to go back and look. I don't remember that off the top of my head.
We need to hear from Jason as far as the large item pickup,
Okay.
to see whether or not we need to implement that fee again or do away with it. I'm pretty sure we're getting close to that 1 year mark.
I know it's on my list. I didn't.
I think it's getting close to it
It's getting
because,
close, yeah.
you know,
And then, according to this list, we have an annual stormwater report due on September 30th.
So the consultants that we have with building and code were hired to do that as well, and they are working on it as we speak. I spoke with them 2 weeks ago about that, and they are working on it, so.
Okay. I think some of this other stuff, but it seems like those two are still the biggest things that's coming up soon.
If you got anything else, I'll take it all, if you don't mind, and,
I'll give you this.
okay, perfect.
As far as the corrective action plan that you sent to the state, could you email me a copy of that, please?
Yes, what I'll do is I'll send it to all of you, the same thing that I sent to them, so that way you all get the same information, so,
Yeah, I'd just like to read it.
okay.
I'd like to make a comment about that if you don't mind. So when you actually look at the corrective action plan that was generated by the engineer, when you look at that, they're gonna give you some timelines because they have to give the state some timelines of, so you're gonna see from, say, March of 25 to October 25, you're gonna see dates, but those can be changed. And they've got a list of accomplishments that need to take place. And I think we're gonna try to have an engineer meeting as soon as possible within the next week or so. And we're gonna rearrange their priorities for them. We're gonna make them our priorities, not what they think what we need is gonna be the top priority. And the sludge, screw press is top priority, which, if you'll remember, we spoke about that at the construction meeting, that's our top priority, so. Just so when you read it, just know it's semi-flexible and adjustable, and it may not be exactly that. And their timeframes are just estimates to comply with the corrective order, because they give us time limits to do things. And there also can be extensions asked for if we, you know, are moving along and making progress, so.
And did we have an update from our court appearance last month?
It was postponed as I understood it.
Yes, the meeting, because we were planning on filing this corrective action plan, they used that to ask the commissioner to postpone the review meeting, and that was postponed at this point. So the more stuff we can accomplish in the meantime, the better. So we're in limbo, but that's better than not being fully prepared for the meeting.
Got a continuance, basically, right? So, that's good news, actually, because they see what we're doing and they're recognizing it, I think,
yes,
so.
they're recognizing it.
I'd like to say thank you to Hugh. Yeah, I appreciate you.
We'll keep on working at it.
We picked his ears the other day, big time, didn't we? But it's hard.
It's the staff that's making all the difference, that's, they're the ones doing the job.
The staff works hard up there.
They just need a little direction, a little focus from time to time, they'll be all right.
Motion adjourned?
Okay,
Could I ask a question?
yes.
Been any discussion about the speeding problems in Carmel?
About what?
Speeding,
Speeding.
cars, drivers, yeah.
Well, we don't have a police officer in here.
Well, I've spoken to them twice.
Pardon?
I've spoke to them twice. And they said come to the town hall meeting and to see if they can discuss it.
Well, they're usually here. I don't know where they're at tonight, but something must have come up. Because I know there was a few things that came up last night of robbery and stuff like that. So
One of them was the academy.
What are you talking about and where?
Town.
Where in the
I'm
town?
on Holly Street. The bad areas that I see every day are Jefferson and Haywood.
We've addressed, sir,
Yes, ma'am.
we had tried to address that issue on Jefferson, and nobody came forward, only one man.
What do you mean nobody came forward?
Nobody in the community where you're at told us that you wanted us to put stop signs up.
I'm talking about the hill, the long hill on Jefferson.
Well, that's what we're talking about. We would have stop signs to make them slow down at the intersecting streets.
When did this happen? 'Cause
Months ago.
6 months ago?
Months ago.
Well, there's two
But we-
articles here, if you wanna look at them, from March and from May of this year, just about discussing the speeding problems.
Well, that would stop it. That would stop it to have the stop signs there. They aren't gonna be able to, unless, of course, we'd probably have to have police officers for a while to give them tickets.
Yeah, but you don't have enough.
Well, I don't know what else to tell you, but we did discuss that. We were waiting for people from that area to come to a meeting and talk to us and tell us that you did want that done. Our attorney mentioned before we actually put the stop signs up, we would have to go through, was it Metropolitan Planning Organization, which they may do it for free. My understanding, it normally is a small fee. They don't try to make us pay a lot of money. We don't have a lot of money for this, but if the people would circulate a, petition, yes, and bring it to us, then we could address it.
Okay, I'll look into it then.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, sir?
When the chief first came here and he was sworn in, he was talked to in reference to Hammond Ave, people speeding down Hammond Ave. And that doesn't seem to be addressed because they're speeding every single day by my house. From the top of the hill, all the way down, constantly. And I haven't seen an officer stop a car there ever since. It's like there's nothing happening there.
They're not setting up radar or
No.
nothing?
I haven't seen them.
I don't know.
I lived in Hammond State since '97, I've never seen anybody slow down there, they always speed, I don't care.
Well, my subdivision too,
Yeah, man,
right,
that's
because
the
by
way
the
it
time they leave the hill and they
But
get
then
past my
but
house.
then they get home, they complain about people speeding in front of their house, that's what gets me.
That little thing they had at Church Hill that was kind of a warning to people when they would come up to Ken Joe's.
They still got it there, it's still there, matter of fact,
Yeah.
it's still there.
Wonder how it affects my husband. It goes wild if he's approached 40. Yeah, 40.
You're talking about the speed indicator.
Didn't we have one that caught a barn on
Have
fire?
you seen it, Alan? A tiny little thing down there at Ken Joe's? And
Hey,
it tells you your speed.
It's been on Hammond before. It tells you your speed.
Your speed.
Wasn't it on Independence and caught a
As
barn
you're
on
approaching.
fire? Cause they've got that sign on their barn that
Yes,
says no.
that's what happened right
Yeah,
there, and it
and they
burnt the barn
stopped.
down.
Yeah,
That's the reason
and they had to
shut it
rebuild,
down.
yeah, cause they've got the sign on the barn.
No more police cars.
No more radar, cause they had one of those mobile radars set
It
up.
was a camera car, wasn't it?
Something, but it caught that
Back
barn
in
on
the early
fire.
2000 there, and it burnt down.
I think the problem is fairly systemic because Independence.
Wait a minute, hold on, one person at a time, what'd you say?
Sorry, Independence Road is like that also. You know,
It's everywhere.
from, Walnut down to, the 11, it's a 50-mile-an-hour zone. Even within Meadow Springs, a small little community, 20 miles an hour is posted. You know, 40 miles an hour is the
I know the police department got a portable radar machine that you can put out in different places, but the former chief told me that they done that and it made it worse. People see how fast they can go.
Yeah, they do.
They take it as a challenge.
They do because it's set up here at the top of the hill. That's when we was
I'll be
looking
speaking
at
to the police
lowering the
chief.
speed limit, and they were, how fast can I go?
See if we can work on some solutions. Here's what I'm gonna say
That's
though.
gonna be a different story.
People are people, and we could give 15 tickets, and you're still gonna have speeders. So it's very difficult to engineer the law. And we can put stop signs up, but people will run stop signs initially because they won't know they were there. Then they'll get used to them and they'll be a commonplace thing. So I'm not saying that we won't address it, but there's been conversations about, and I had this conversation with the fire chief today, can we put speed humps in our neighborhood, or can we put speed tables, or whatever other traffic calming devices there are? So as a former fire chief, I'm not a big fan of any of those things because it slows down my ability to get to people when time is of the essence and you have to get there. So I say all that to say, for the few deviants that you have that are speeding, it doesn't have the same effect because people fly over it anyway and don't care.
We done the speed bumps before. We had some portable ones. They didn't last 2 days. People complained so much they had to go take them back up.
Well, and if they're good, then they're gonna complain because it's gonna bottom out their car, or it's gonna cause them to have issue. And then we're on the hook for damaging somebody's undercarriage, and I've been party to that as well, so.
I talked about putting rumble strips down the center. People come by around, well, you know, if you're on a motorcycle, they can cause you have a wreck.
Correct.
And then you got
Then it
snow.
goes
Snow.
damage to a car, and it just goes on and on, so. I don't know what the answer is.
If you're gonna
12
speak with the
gauge.
chief, you
Yeah.
said,
I am.
is there such a thing, because we have the red light cameras,
That's a good
is
thought.
there such a thing for speeding?
The answer is yes, but
I mean, it
we do
seems
not
simple
have
that
any of
way.
the, well, they're very costly.
Of course.
And therein lies the problem, and it has to be witnessed by an officer, and there's some other things that happen in that instance, so,
There's been some legislation against those.
yes.
I got one more question.
Yes,
Because
ma'am.
I know you need to get out here. I've had calls about, the paving up Hammond and Independence. Is that completed now, or is, cause
I don't know.
I told them, I said, I don't know if they're fixing the, worst parts first and then coming back or what, but I will find out.
I'll ask Jason tomorrow and I'll let you know. I
Independence
don't
is done, I don't know about Hamilton's.
Mm.
Independence is done, but I don't know.
Well,
about
it's
Hamilton's.
done, and it's not completely done. It'd be nice to have a center the strip, you know.
know. The strips have been ordered, but they've gotta wait for the asphalt to cure and settle,
I
so.
understand, so it's not done, it's not
Right.
done.
The paving's done.
The paving's
Yes.
done, the striping and
But
marking
with
is
people
not.
going 40, 50 miles an hour,
It's
it's a
gonna
little
happen.
disconcerting.
We had talked about this 2 or 3 years ago,
Yeah.
about dropping the speed limit down.
People complained about that.
Oh, yeah, they'll eat you up for
I
that.
mean, you know, that you kill and complain.
So true.
Old man to be out.
So true. So
I mean,
true.
like,
We all get it.
They're not teenagers, we all know.
We've all
There
done
is
it.
no winning on this, there's really not.
No, until somebody gets hurt, you know.
Yeah.
Like, 12 gauge.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's all. Make your notes if you got something else to ask at the next, meeting or call or whatever.
Sir, if you don't mind giving me your information, I'll give you a call back tomorrow after I get done talking to the chief.
Sure.
Well, thank you all for coming.
Jim, what is your
I'll have to get
A
the,
little bit, everybody.
yeah, we've done 5, you know.
Same with whatever.
100 yards, and then they'll stop, and then we'll go up, and then they'll have to.
I went on there yesterday and I was like,
Fun Fest, saw you, how did your dog sleep place?